I've done over 100 launches, flights and landings with the ALP, clocking over 50 hours in the air across 20 days, testing it with 9 wings. As always, I was running around a lot, putting its usability and durability to the test. The ALP's main draw, aside from its low weight and size, is the performance boost it offers. Most competition pilots have switched to torpedo-style harnesses like the Ozone submarine, but can the 1.6 kilogram ALP match the performance of the 8 kilogram submarine? After testing with 9 wings over 20 days, I've found a clear performance boost. The biggest improvements are a reduced sink rate and better glide, especially at higher speeds. This is most noticeable with high performance wings. The reduced sink rate helps with climbing and staying in weaker lift. I've even outclimbed pilots I usually wouldn't and stayed up while others sank. If you fly inefficiently, you'll still glide worse than someone in a standard pod harness. But all else equal, the ALP provides a performance advantage over standard pods, much like flying a better wing. Pairing the ALP with an ultralight high-performance wing, reserve, instrument, helmet and backpack, a 70 kilogram pilot can have an incredibly compact and high-performance setup, weighing only around 7 kilograms, which is 10 times lighter than their body weight.
This is a very, let's call it extreme minimalist harness. It's aimed at, you know, a really high level of pilot that understands what this product is all about, and that it is very fragile and needs more taking care of, more setting up. Putting it on is a bit more fiddly and things like that. So for pilots who are just looking for an everyday flying harness and stuff like that, I don't think this is the right sort of harness for them. This is for pilots that are really looking to get the best there is, really, for lightest weight and best performance. If the right pilots buy this harness, I think they're going to be really happy with it and it's going to be perfect for them and they're going to think it's fantastic. And you'll see those pilots doing big hike and flies and race and big flights and cross countries and be super happy with it. I think if the wrong kind of pilots buy it, then they're going to say, oh, it's too fragile and it's too fiddly and awkward and it's not sort of user-friendly enough. And I'll be honest with you, it took me a little bit of getting used to this harness. Of course, I've been flying a long time, over 31 years now, with thousands of hours airtime, and I've flown hundreds of harnesses. I'm not to say it's that difficult to use. I think Supair have given the right balance. They're very much targeting this harness to a high level of pilot who's competent as a pilot, but also competent at setting up their harness and getting the setup right and getting their angle right and getting all those sort of things, and also at getting into the harness and making use of it. And also, one kind of word of caution I have to say with this sort of harness a little bit is that you need to be really careful when you get into the harness that you put your legs in the right place with the straps, that you don't miss the leg strap, you don't put your leg through one of the speed bag lines, because that could be a problem. I think you need to be competent enough and experienced enough as a pilot that having to cope with those extra things to think about is not a problem for you. I've used the harness quite a bit. It is relatively more fragile and I've managed to damage right at the bottom of the speed bag envelope. The way that it's designed, there's a little V, because of the fact that I've ended up making the speed bag longer, because I'm at the top end of this harness. I've ended up making the harness longer, and that means that my feet are kind of a little bit past the end of the envelope, so that might be slightly to do with it. But my view with this kind of harness anyway is that I'm expecting through use it's going to get some wear and tear. Let's call it wear and tear rather than damage, and then you need to get that sorted. So for that, you get this incredibly amazing, lightweight, super compact package with amazing performance. That's what you need to decide. Is this the right sort of harness for you that's super lightweight, minimalist and quite fragile? Or should you really go for something that's got a bit more weight and bulk, but it's going to be more durable and but easier to use and easier to set up? So now I'm going to show you what's probably the trickiest part with the ALP. Actually, it's definitely the trickiest part, is getting into the harness. But just to mention that the more stuff you have in your pockets, I have got a little bit of stuff, but if you've got lots of bulk in your pockets and things like that, it's actually going to make it harder getting into the harness, because you do slip it on like a pair of pants. First of all, reserve is here, and you've got the magnetic zip, which always keeps wanting to close itself. You can see, I mean, it's brilliant. I mean, the zip's absolutely brilliant. It means getting in and out of the harness is so easy. There's no unzipping and stuff like that, and it fully encloses. There's no gap or air escaping, so it's very, very good from an efficiency point of view. And I found it really easy getting in and out of the harness as well. So you leave everything like that, get the chest part of the harness and wrap that around the reserve. And then you've got the leg strap here. You grab everything, make sure you grab these diagonal straps here. That's really important. So grab that lot, like so. And then what you find is, now because I've put stuff in the bottom of the harness, filled up the bottom pocket in the back, that makes it a little harder getting in actually. But what I've worked out is what you want to do is put everything make a very clear gap, put your foot through and put it on the ground, like so. Then make sure, and I have to say a couple of times I've ended up putting my leg through the wrong side, so to be very careful, put this leg strap that side, the middle strap. And now's the fiddliest part, put your leg in, and the trick is put it on the ground on the same side. I found when I was trying to put it back on the other side, it was really fiddly and I was tripping over it. Once you've got both your feet on the ground, you're pretty much there now. So now what you do is grab, again, make sure you've got all the parts. This is a good time you could check just to see that you need to see this cross bracing strap here, around like that, and then the straps of the harness around there, and this strap going through the middle, and the same on the other side. So you've got the side strap here, that's the reserve bridle. Let's just tuck that out of the way. So you've got that running like so. There you go. And what you want to do is get this up past your waist. Next, if you have a look here, as you get into the harness, quite often the envelope is down here. You can actually make sure that you pull it up before you get in, but just if you're finding that you're trying to pull it up and it's sticking, that's why. You just need to lift it up past the storage pocket there. Next tip is because I find it easier to inflate the inflatable protector after I've got into the harness, just make sure this is accessible. And I would have liked actually if Supair put there's one loop on there, and I found that it tends to either go too far or too far back, so you just need to get it to the right position, and then you'll find that it's accessible. If you haven't done that, then you can get stuck behind your back. There we go. So here what you have, there's the shoulder strap here, and then there's the sleeve for the envelope, and it's definitely a good idea at this stage to make sure that's above the rear storage there. If that's down here, then it will catch on that, make it more awkward. I actually find it's easier to do both at the same time, so what I do is I grab the sleeve for the envelope and the shoulder strap, and I just put them both on at the same time. Then you just run your finger underneath like that, and we'll do the same on the other side. So I found the only way to make sure you've got the shoulder strap is to find it at the carabiner, to find it there, and make sure your arm's underneath that, and then put your arm through the sleeve, like so. You can see I've got my drinks tube on that side and my inflator tube on that side. So okay, so at this stage, pull out the tube. One. Two. Ah! Three. It's pretty much inflated. I personally like to have it really inflated, so, and each time what I'm doing is I'm opening it so to let the flow open, and then closing it back up. So like so. Each time after I've inflated the airbag, and I've flown around for hours and things like that, and then landed, and it's been still inflated. Okay, so the next part, so we're in the harness, we've got the shoulder straps on and the envelope sleeves. The next part, now it's easy actually. So you do up the chest part like this. Oh, I grabbed the wrong zip. And then it's worth just running your fingers around to make sure it's all clear and that's more comfortable. So I'm going to show you now, purposefully I'm going to put a couple of instruments on here so you can get an idea of the size of the flight deck. First of all, I've got the Omni. If you have a flight panel, you could just stick your flight panel on there as well, which is what I have been doing, but I'm trying to, because it's an ultralight minimalist harness, I'm trying to keep everything more ultralight and minimalist.
So most minimalist pilots would just have the Navitor Omni and not have the Sky.
Yeah, most pilots will probably have Navitor Omni and possibly also their phone. It's very likely they'll have that put there and that. But just to give you an idea of the size of the flight deck, and you can see that's a bit big really for that, but it does, you can put it on there and it does work. Now the next part again is optional. If you want, just put that out of the way, you've got the flat panel part here. That's the top part there is what clips to there. So what we do is just get this underneath. They're much better done when you're not in the harness. And this is just if you're wanting to have that extra streamlined thing like that. I guess as well if you get rained on, it's going to keep your instruments dry. And it's designed such it is meant to be easily removable, plus you can get your hands inside if you want to leave the thing there with your instruments. But of course if you do really want to fiddle with them, it's very easy to just open that in flight, and that's well velcroed on there, so you don't lose that. Then on top here, let's say like your phone, your snack bars, your batteries, and things in that pocket there. That's it, I guess. I'm in. Just to show this time, instead of tucking the tail fin into the flight panel, I've actually just, there's a double zip on this part. So I've got the tail, the rear fairing, which, as I say, you squeeze the air out like that and do that. And then there's a zip here, which is made also so you can access the side pockets here. So you can access your side pockets if you want to, and you might have jackets, pockets, things like that, so you can quite easily access them like that. I've also found it's quite useful if you want to use that to, you can use that to tuck the rear fairing in as well. I'll show you the zips are on both sides. And again, what I've been doing is actually I've put my phone in there if I'm not using the phone as an instrument. So you can put it inside the pocket here, and that seems to sit nicely. One tip for you is, like all these submarine harnesses, if you've got a zip like that, don't zip this too far up. If you zip it all the way up, then it's kind of more awkward to pull down. So when you're being bounced around in the thermal at cloud base, and you're trying to do the zip back up and you can't see it, it's a bit more fiddly. So, but yeah, if you just only zip it to there, but that's a really nice thing. It means you can easily access inside here if you want. Also, I found I was getting quite warm from running around, and so you can open these to let a bit of ventilation in. And because the tail on this inflates so quickly and easily and so well, because it's very light and just catches the air really well, even with these open, the tail fairing sits out really nicely. You can see with the ALP we've got a front reserve, and I do definitely recommend getting the lightest, most compact reserve that's a good size for you and that you can afford. I've gone for the lightest one that I can that's a good size for me, which is the Skywalk Tapper X ALPS 105. It is very expensive, but it is amazingly small. Look at that. It's, I think it weighs about 900 grams and the weight goes up to 105 kilos, hence the name, the 105. And with a front mount reserve, it's attached to the main hang points, the carabiners, which you'll see in a minute, which means you can grab it in front, deploy it left or right. Just one reserve. It is an ultralight minimalist harness, so you've just got one reserve here, and I don't think you could really, because there's a front mount reserve, you're not going to add a second reserve to it. But I think for this harness, being an ultralight race minimalist extreme harness, that's what this is all about. And I definitely recommend, don't skimp on the reserve, go for that, the lightest, most compact thing. You won't regret it. Funnily enough, I put in a cheaper reserve, which is semi-light, which is a Supair Fluid Light Evo size medium, which is also up to 105, and only weighs 1200 grams, but that made it almost 50% bigger, and definitely noticeable as I was getting into the harness. It's more about getting in the harness, actually. It just made it more awkward, and with this nice super light reserve, it just makes it easier getting in In the air, actually, you don't really notice the difference. Some of you might have noticed that I've changed the carabiners round, so I've got the gates on the front. Now the reason I've done that is because I'm changing gliders all the time. So Supair, the harness comes with the carabiners on the back, and that just makes it more awkward for changing the glider and things like that. So what I've done is I've changed the gate round, and that's for my convenience, clipping gliders in and out more easily. And then I've changed the reserve bridle to put it on the back. Because this is a submarine style inflatable envelope harness, the speed system only goes through this little eyelet here. And you're really trying to keep it as airtight as possible. It's not fully airtight, but it's pretty airtight. So you take the speed system line of the harness and you run that up through the pulleys on the speed system of the glider on the risers. So I've taken the speed system off that came with the glider, the grey line and the Brummel hook, took that off. And then I've added this. Supair provides you with this little loop here. The one I've got is blue and the line's yellow. I don't know if that will always be the case, but you put that there, and the idea is that the speed system is just, so for you minimalist and Brummel hook haters, you'll be so happy. So you just do a lux, you just loop that through there and put it on into there. It depends on the glider how you'd fit it, but the main point is that you've got the harness speed system running straight, directly connected to the risers here. This is similar to how it comes from Supair. Two differences: I've changed the carabiner around, and because of that I've put the reserve bridle loop on the back, because then if I throw the reserve, it's going to run up the back of the carabiner where there isn't the gate. It's not going to catch on that, and like so. The other addition I've put onto this glider that it didn't come with is an O-ring, and I've put it just over all the lower thing. I think there's something like 8 or 9 loops on here, so I've put it over the 6 or 7 lower loops down at the bottom, and that holds those really nicely in place. That seems to work really well. But I've purposely put the shoulder strap, the top shoulder strap, and the reserve bridle here, because if I throw that will come up and want to be up, and then pull me into an upright position. Here's the magnetic zip. It makes it really easy getting in and out of the harness, and it does work really well. I will point out, I have been testing this quite a lot, several days and quite a lot, and I have managed to, I've done lots and lots of takeoffs and landings, and I have managed to damage the end here. So with this kind of gear, it is extreme ultralight minimalist harness. It's really made to be as light as possible. And so Supair have made it as light as you possibly can, but still doing the job for performance and flying, and I think it does that all very well. But what it is that through my lots of takeoffs and landings and running around and testing, so for example, I've managed to just damage the end of the nose cone there, the entrance there, but the idea of this as well is that's going to be relatively simple for a service centre or somebody to repair that. Okay, so we're just going to show you a little bit inside the harness. Just showing you a little bit just to give you an idea, because you can obviously see this on the product page, but I just wanted to give you an idea. It's really minimalist. You've just got lines for the sides. There's 3 lines on each side, like so. So those blue lines. One thing I'd like to say is that I think Supair could make those lines, the 2 different lines, because one loops back on itself. It'd be nice if they made one a different colour, and that would make it easier for you when you're adjusting. So there's the adjustment, and it's the really simple, there's just knots and loops on there, so you just head those on there. And it did take a few attempts for me to get it right. So at the bottom you've got these bungee loops here, and then the speed system going underneath there. And they provide you with a 3-step speed bar, which I find actually works well. It's very minimalist. And while we're here, I'll show you underneath here, there's a little under-seat pocket. And it's not very big, but of course, again, this harness is ultralight minimalist. This is not aimed at vol bivouac, this harness. It's aimed at hike and fly racing, so there's not a massive amount of storage in it. And perhaps you could use it for a short vol bivouac, but I'd say that's not really what it's aimed at. But I put in there, that's the bag, which you'll see that the ALP goes in there, and then the helmet bag, and that was the concertina bag that comes with the ozone light. That's an example of things you can put in there, and I always recommend you put soft stuff in the bottom. It actually improves your support. It also means if you land on your bum, you're not going to have something hard against your coccyx or something like that. So this is the leg strap. Yep, there is only one leg strap. So that red strap there is the leg strap. You can see really ultralight minimalist, and that clips onto these straps, which are the frame of the harness here. And that's the underside of the reserve, that's to hold that in place. Just showing you this part here at the bottom. Pilots who've seen the Gin Genie race, this is a similar idea, but very, very minimalist. So here with the envelope, and what you do when you're getting your stuff in and out of the harness, you just take, you can see there's the frame of the harness. Like so, and there's the back. I'd say I find the comfort is very good. It's not, obviously it's more minimalist than harnesses that are heavier with more rigidity and stuff, but actually I found the comfort is pretty good. And I've flown with it a good few hours now, and yeah, been happy with it. So that's good. Yeah, and that dog definitely agrees with that.
Yes.
Just wanted to say they agree. Now I'm going to show you the back pocket. There's a pocket to put some stuff in there as well if you want. You can see here that's the tube for to go to the inflatable protector, which is underneath there. You can see I've actually filled this up quite a bit. I'm carrying a little bit of extra stuff because I've got a bit of filming gear, and then I've got my food, my day bag of little stuff. There's the backpack, Woody Valley Alaska 65, which is more than enough space to fit this harness with a light glider. Fine with the ozone light, which isn't a particularly compact light glider, and that fits into this really perfectly, very easily in fact. I think with the ALP it's so compact, as you'll see. I'm sure you can go down to a 50-litre backpack if you wanted to. Right, water bag. So to pack the harness away, it's going to end up going into this bag that the ALP comes with, this little bag here, you'll see. And what you want to do is pack it into a tube, and also then make it nice and narrow with the foot plates, you'll see. So pop the risers from the glider into the middle of the harness like so. Bring in the sides of the harness. So there's the bottom of the foot plate there, and there's the top. So don't put it sideways, put it that way, and then you can roll it up. Because it's got the metal wires on it, they fold up like so, and you just keep rolling that up all the way. So now we get the bag, and it is designed to be a perfect fit, so it's quite snug. Another reason why having a lighter, more compact reserve is nice, because it just makes the whole package. When you've got a harness that only weighs 1.6 kilos, then the difference in weight of the reserve does actually, and volume of that, makes a difference to the whole size.
Wow, just look at
And
that.
you can see
wow.
that is actually, I think that's pretty amazing.
It goes from one of the biggest looking harnesses that's out there in the sky to the smallest.
Yeah, you can roll this up if you want. Do you know what? I'm not going to bother. I think it's just fine to do that if you really want to squeeze the air and stuff out of it there. And look at that. So that's the ALP. You have to give your hats off to Supair. They've done an amazing job there. It's just weighs 1.6 kilos, full submarine style harness that's giving you top performance. And although getting into the harness is a little fiddly, so that, and setting it up, you've got to spend a little time getting that right. Actually, I found the harness works really well, and for flying, I've flown it with several different gliders now and quite a bit. And this is definitely a harness that, so for a really ambitious, performance orientated hike and fly racing pilot, you're going to be able to do huge, big flights with this, and it's perfectly suited to hike and fly racing and big. I think as well, just for pilots who just want a really light, performant cross-country harness, who are going to carry a moderate amount of stuff, not a load of stuff, it's not a Volbiv harness, then this is a really fantastic option. Amazing job. Well done, Supair.